Maya's heart raced as the taxi rolled to a stop in front of her house. It was nearly midnight, the quiet neighborhood bathed in the soft glow of streetlights. She wasn't supposed to be home until tomorrow morning. But she wanted to surprise Ethan, her fiancé, the man she trusted more than anyone. She imagined his sleepy smile, the way he'd wrap her in his arms when he saw her at the door. She slipped her key into the lock, easing it open so the hinges wouldn't creak. The house was still, almost too still. She dragged her suitcase inside, shutting the door behind her with a soft click. "Ethan?" she whispered into the silence, expecting his voice to echo back. Instead, a faint sound reached her ears. At first, it was distant, barely a murmur. Then it grew clearer, heavier. A woman's moan. Maya froze. Her pulse pounded in her ears as the realization crept over her like a slow, icy wave. The sounds were coming from upstairs. She set her bag down and crept toward the staircase, each step amplifying the noise. Her stomach twisted. She wanted to stop, to turn around. But something inside pushed her forward. The door to their bedroom was slightly ajar. She pushed it open with trembling hands. The sight burned into her mind. Ethan was in bed, his body wrapped around Sophia, her brother Liam's fiancée. Sophia's wide eyes met Maya's, and for a moment, no one moved. The world tilted. Maya stumbled backward, her breath caught in her throat, and rushed downstairs, desperate for an explanation, for someone to say this was all a nightmare. But there sat Diane, her mother, calmly sipping wine like nothing was wrong. When their eyes met, Diane didn't look surprised. She looked expectant. "I was wondering when you'd find out," she said, coolly. Maya's entire world cracked open, but the betrayal waiting for Maya wasn't just in that bedroom, it was rooted deep within her own family. 2 months earlier, everything looked flawless on the surface. Maya stood in the center of the grand banquet hall, surrounded by laughter, champagne glasses, and fairy lights strung like stars across the ceiling. The engagement party had been Diane's idea, a once-in-a-lifetime event, she called it. From the flowers to the catering to the seating chart, Diane had orchestrated every detail with the precision of a general. Guests fluttered around Maya and Ethan, calling them the perfect couple, the pair that just made sense. Maya smiled, but it felt rehearsed. Every time she offered a suggestion, Diane found a way to dismiss it. "Oh, honey, leave the big decisions to me," she'd say with that tight, condescending smile. "You're too stressed as it is." When Maya had proposed a small, intimate gathering, Diane overruled her with a grand ballroom and a guest list of 200. Ethan, meanwhile, didn't protest. He laughed, clinked glasses, and let Diane run the show like she was the bride. Throughout the night, Maya's eyes kept drifting toward Liam and Sophia. They stood near the bar, chatting with Ethan, their laughter oddly synchronized. At one point, Sophia brushed something off Ethan's shoulder. A tiny gesture, barely noticeable, but it made Maya's stomach tighten. Later, she caught Ethan looking at Sophia with a spark she'd never seen directed at her. It lasted only a second, but it lingered in Maya's mind like a splinter. She tried to shake it off. Sophia was practically family, and Ethan adored her brother Liam. Maybe she was just tired. Maybe she was being paranoid. That's what she told herself as she forced another smile for the photographer. Meanwhile, Diane floated through the party like a queen. She hovered near Ethan more than Maya, introducing him proudly to distant relatives and calling him the son I always dreamed of. When Maya tried to take Ethan aside for a private moment, Diane swept in with another toast or announcement, effortlessly pulling him away. Maya felt like a guest at her own engagement. As the night ended, Ethan wrapped his arm around her shoulders, whispering, "It was perfect." She nodded, staring out at the dimmed lights, but a tiny unease crept into her chest, an unease she pushed down, convincing herself it was nothing. Maya thought Diane's over-involvement was just controlling behavior, but in reality, it was part of something much darker. It started small, almost invisible. Ethan had always been open with his phone. He'd leave it on the coffee table, unlocked, while he cooked or showered. But one morning, as Maya reached to hand it to him, the screen lit up with a notification from Sophia. Before she could even glance at it, Ethan snatched it from her hand with a nervous laugh. "Work stuff," he said, sliding it into his pocket. It was the first time he'd ever hidden anything from her. Over the next few weeks, the changes piled up like tiny cracks in a perfect mirror. Sophia began showing up at the house more often, always with a flimsy excuse. "I thought we could go over the wedding decor," she'd chirp, stepping inside like she owned the place. At first, Maya welcomed the help, but soon it felt like Sophia was everywhere, perched on the couch next to Ethan, whispering about menu options, lingering after Maya went to bed. Diane encouraged it. Sophia has such a good eye, she'd say, watching the two of them with approval. Ethan should spend more time with her on these decisions. You get too emotional, Maya. The words stung. Suddenly, errands that Maya expected to handle with Ethan were being delegated to Sophia. Florist visits, cake tastings, venue inspections. It was as if Diane was gently pushing Maya out of her own wedding. One night, as Maya prepared for bed, she heard soft laughter drifting through the open window. Curious, she peeked outside. In the backyard, under the warm glow of the porch lights, Ethan and Sophia sat close together on the patio steps, their heads bent toward each other. Sophia touched his arm and he didn't move away. Their laughter was quiet, intimate. Maya's heart clenched. She slipped on her robe and walked outside. "What's going on?" she asked, forcing her voice to stay calm. Ethan looked startled, then laughed it off. "Just talking about wedding playlists," he said, exchanging a quick glance with Sophia. "You worry too much," Maya didn't argue. She went back upstairs, but something shifted that night. She pulled out an old leather-bound journal and began writing down every strange moment, every glance, every whisper, every lie she tried to ignore. She had no idea the truth she was tiptoeing around would soon blow her entire world apart. The moment Maya pushed open that door, time seemed to split in half before and after. Ethan's face turned ghost white, his mouth opening and closing like he was gasping for air. Sophia scrambled to cover herself, clutching the blanket like it could erase what Maya had just witnessed. For a heartbeat, everything was silent, except for the pounding in Maya's ears. She stared at them, her chest tightening, her breath shallow. This wasn't a nightmare she could wake up from. This was her reality, her fiancé and her brother's fiancé, entangled in the bed they were supposed to share after their wedding. Ethan stammered, "Maya, it's not what it looks like." But his voice cracked under the weight of the obvious. Sophia kept her head down, refusing to meet her eyes. Maya took one step back, then another. The room spun as if gravity itself had shifted. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She turned and walked out, her hands clenched into fists so tight her nails dug into her palms. Downstairs she expected chaos, maybe apologies, maybe explanations, but what she found instead made her blood run cold. Diane was sitting on the couch in her silk robe, the TV softly humming in the background. A half-finished glass of wine rested on the table. She didn't look surprised to see Maya storming down the stairs. She looked prepared. Their eyes met. "You knew," Maya whispered. Diane set her glass down delicately. "I was wondering when you'd find out." Maya's stomach dropped. "You knew, and you said nothing?" Diane sighed, as if Maya were the one causing a scene. "Maya, don't be dramatic. Ethan deserves to be happy. You're so difficult sometimes. You push people away. Sophia is easier. This doesn't have to be the end of everything." Maya's heart shattered, but underneath the pain, something else stirred, a low, burning fury. She stepped closer, her voice trembling but sharp. "You're defending them? My fiancé and my brother's fiancé? You watched this happen?" Diane didn't flinch. "I made peace with it weeks ago. You should too." Maya stared at the woman who raised her and realized, with gut-wrenching clarity, that the betrayal wasn't just upstairs. It was right here in front of her. But Maya wasn't going to crumble. She was going to make every single one of them regret crossing her. For a week, Maya wore a mask so flawless even Diane didn't notice the storm brewing beneath it. She moved through the house like a ghost, smiling when expected, nodding through wedding conversations, pretending to be the heartbroken fiancé who was working things out. Ethan mistook her silence for weakness. Sophia avoided her eyes. Diane treated her with a patronizing calm, convinced Maya had accepted their twisted reality. But beneath that quiet exterior, Maya was planning. She gathered every message, every receipt, every photo she could find. She wasn't going to scream or cry. She was going to burn their perfect little world down, publicly. The joint engagement party arrived on a warm Saturday evening. Friends and family filled the decorated backyard, toasting the two perfect couples. Maya wore a sleek black dress, her hair pulled back in a way that made her look composed, almost regal. No one suspected a thing. When it came time for speeches, Ethan confidently wrapped his arm around her and led her to the mic, thinking they were about to give their practiced thank you speech. Instead, Maya took the microphone herself. Her voice was calm, steady. "Before we start," she said, "I put together a little slideshow of our journey. I'd love to share it with everyone." The lights dimmed. The projector clicked on. The first images were sweet. Photos of her and Ethan laughing at the beach, cake tastings, venue visits. Then, seamlessly, the tone shifted. A screenshot appeared. Ethan texting Sophia late at night. Then another. And another. Flirty messages, hotel bookings, receipts with both their names. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Someone dropped a glass. Liam's face went pale, then flushed red. He turned to Sophia, his voice shaking. "What is this?" She tried to stammer an explanation, but before she could, Liam swung and punched Ethan square in the jaw. Chaos erupted. Guests whispered. Phones came out. Diane rushed toward the stage, hissing, "Turn it off, Maya. You're humiliating yourself." Maya turned to her mother with eyes like steel. "No, Mom," she said clearly into the mic. "I'm humiliating them." The room fell silent. Ethan held his jaw, Sophia sobbed, Liam stormed out, and Maya stood there, calm in the center of the wreckage she'd unleashed. But the biggest shock wasn't the public humiliation. It was the family secret Maya was about to uncover. That night, after the chaos had settled and the last of the shocked guests had gone home, the house was eerily silent. The laughter and music from the party had been replaced by a heavy, suffocating stillness. Maya moved through the hallway like a shadow, her heels clicking softly against the wooden floor. Her mind replayed Diane's reaction at the party, the lack of shock, the quick attempt to silence her. There was something deeper at play, something that had been brewing long before she ever walked in on Ethan and Sophia. She stopped outside Diane's room. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, the faint scent of expensive perfume lingered in the air. On the dresser sat a small wooden box, partially hidden beneath a stack of folded scarves. It looked old, the edges worn. Maya hesitated for a moment, then slowly opened it. Inside were bundles of letters tied with ribbon, yellowed with age. She unfolded the first one, and her breath caught. It was a letter from her father, the man who had left Diane years ago for another woman. His words were full of regret and longing, but what stood out were Diane's bitter notes scribbled in the margins. "He took everything. She will pay. They all will." Beneath the letters were receipts and printed emails. Maya's eyes widened as she scanned through them. Hotel bookings, dinner reservations, not between Ethan and Sophia, but between Ethan and Diane. Meetings, months before Maya and Ethan were even engaged. Notes Diane had written in her tidy handwriting, "He'll make the perfect match, as long as she doesn't push him away." Maya's stomach churned as the pieces clicked into place. Ethan wasn't just her fiancé, he was Diane's project, her redemption. Diane had chosen him for Maya, molded their relationship, pushed for the engagement. And Sophia? She wasn't a threat Diane hadn't foreseen. She was Plan B, a backup bride if Maya didn't fall in line. In one letter to an old friend, Diane had written, "Maya's too strong-willed. She'll ruin it if she keeps challenging him." Sophia understands her place better. Maya felt a cold wave wash over her. Her mother hadn't just allowed the betrayal, she had orchestrated it. Her heart broke, but her resolve hardened. This wasn't just betrayal, it was war. Maya didn't cry that night. She didn't scream or collapse. She sat at her desk with the wooden box beside her, the moonlight spilling through the window, and began to plan. Every shred of pain she'd felt was slowly sharpened into something cold and calculated. If Diane, Ethan, and Sophia had treated her life like a game, then she was done playing fair. The first step was information. Maya still had partial access to the accounts of the small marketing business she and Ethan co-owned. Late into the night, she combed through financial statements, receipts, and emails. What she found made her smile for the first time in weeks. Ethan had been siphoning off funds, little by little, into a private account. He thought she wouldn't notice. She documented everything. Screenshots, spreadsheets, transfers. It wasn't just cheating anymore. It was theft. The second step was Sophia. While Ethan tried to keep his head down after the party, Sophia continued to meet him in secret. Maya hired a private investigator, using her savings. Within days, she had fresh photos and proof that their affair hadn't stopped. It had intensified. She sent the evidence anonymously to Liam. The message was short, brutal, and anonymous. She never stopped. Liam, already humiliated once, finally cut Sophia off for good. Step 3 was timing. Maya waited until Ethan was distracted finalizing a new business deal. Then, quietly and efficiently, she sold her shares of their company to a competitor. When Ethan discovered it, it was too late. She walked away with her portion in cash while he was left scrambling, his once stable finances crumbling beneath him. The final blow was public. Maya created a new anonymous account and carefully compiled the entire saga. Screenshots of texts, photos, financial misconduct, even snippets from Diane's letters. She released it online in a single explosive post. It spread like wildfire. Ethan's clients dropped him overnight. Sophia's carefully curated influencer image shattered under a flood of backlash and lost sponsorships. Diane, the self-proclaimed queen of social circles, became the center of town gossip. Friends stopped calling. Invitations disappeared. Her empire of control collapsed in weeks. Maya watched it unfold from a distance, calm and steady. But Maya's final move wasn't just about revenge, it was about reclaiming her power. In the weeks that followed, everything Maya had set in motion unfolded like dominoes falling one by one. Ethan's business, once thriving, began to crumble under the weight of scandal. Clients pulled out, deals fell apart, and his reputation turned to ash almost overnight. The confident man who used to strut through meetings now spent his days making desperate calls that went unanswered. Sophia's perfect influencer life shattered just as quickly. Brands severed contracts, followers turned on her, and Liam, armed with undeniable proof, ended things for good. She tried to control the narrative, posting teary apologies online, but no one bought it. Her picture-perfect image was gone, replaced by whispers of betrayal and greed. And Diane was no longer the untouchable matriarch. Her friends avoided her, whispers followed her at social gatherings, and the community she once ruled with an iron smile turned its back on her. The woman who had orchestrated everything now found herself isolated, her power evaporating with every passing day. Maya, on the other hand, quietly packed her things and moved out of the house that held too many lies. She started therapy, peeling back years of emotional manipulation she hadn't even realized were there. She reconnected with her estranged father, the one Diane had pushed away. Sitting across from him at a quiet cafe, Maya finally felt something she hadn't in months. Peace. When Ethan eventually showed up at her doorstep, hollow-eyed and desperate, she didn't rage. She didn't cry. She simply looked at him and said, "You all taught me what loyalty doesn't look like." Then she closed the door, leaving him standing there with the wreckage of his choices. But Maya's story doesn't end here. It's just the beginning of her comeback. The storm had passed, but its echoes lingered. Standing by her apartment window one quiet evening, Maya gazed at the city lights below. For the first time in a long while, the weight in her chest felt lighter. The betrayal hadn't broken her. It had revealed the truth about the people she had trusted most. Her voice, steady and reflective, carried a message for anyone who had ever doubted their own instincts. Sometimes, the people who destroy your peace are the ones who raised you, and the ones who smile the brightest are often hiding the deepest knives. She remembered the countless times she'd second-guessed herself. Every uneasy glance, every late-night whisper she'd dismissed as paranoia. In the end, her intuition had been right all along. She looked straight into the camera, eyes calm but sharp. Never let anyone gaslight you into silence. If something feels wrong, trust yourself. Protect your peace, even if it means standing alone. A faint, knowing smile crossed her lips as she delivered the line that would stay with viewers long after the video ended. They built their betrayal in secret. I built my revenge in silence. The screen slowly faded to black, but her voice lingered like a final note of resolve. If you found this story as jaw-dropping as I did, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more shocking real-life stories. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.